This is the feel-good story of the year so far. I love this video so much. This is the president of Guyana, Irfan Ali, whose country has just discovered oil off of their shore. And so they're going to build a pipeline and they're going to start commodifying their resources for the enrichment of their country. Mazel tov, good on them. Not so good in the eyes of the United States and the West, apparently, because he was paid a visit from BBC reporter Steven Sukar. I think that's the fucking guy's name. And this interview went mega viral for such great reasons. So we're going to actually do another story on this because the New York Times just put out yesterday this huge piece called "Is Guyana's Oil a Blessing or a Curse?" And the subheadline is, "With the discovery of offshore oil, Guyana is now building a natural gas pipeline to bring the byproducts of oil production to a planned energy plant. More than any single country, Guyana demonstrates the struggle between the consequences of climate change and the lure of the oil economy." So here comes the guilt trip from America and the BBC, why this South American country should think twice before finally getting a piece of the action for themselves because of climate change. Watch the smackdown this guy gets. This will lift everybody up after this kind of heavy and severe show.
Take a big picture look at what's going on here. Over the next decade, 2 decades, it is expected that there will be $150 billion worth of oil and gas extracted off your coast. It's an extraordinary figure, but think of it in practical terms. That means, according to many experts, more than 2 billion tons of carbon emissions will come from your seabed, from those reserves, and be released into the atmosphere. I don't know if you, as a head of state, went to the COP in Dubai.
Let me stop you right there. Let me stop you right there. Do you know that Guyana has a forest forever that is the size of England and Scotland combined? A forest that stores 19.5 gigatons of carbon? A forest that we have kept alive? A forest that we have kept alive.
Does that give you the right? Does that give you the right to release all of this carbon?
Does that give you the right to lecture us on climate change? I am going to lecture you on climate change because we have kept this forest alive that stores 19.5 gigatons of carbon that you enjoy, that the world enjoy, that you don't pay us for, that you don't value, that you don't see a value in, that the people of Guyana has kept alive. Guess what? We have the lowest deforestation rate in the world. And guess what? Even with our greatest exploration of the oil and gas resource we have now, we will still be net zero. Guyana will still be net zero. With all our exploration, we'll still be net zero.
Powerful words, Mr. President. But a couple.
I am not completed as yet. I am not finished as yet. I am just not finished as yet. Because this is the hypocrisy that exists in the world. The world in the last 50 years has lost 65% of all its biodiversity. We have kept our biodiversity. Are you valuing it? Are you ready to pay for it? When is the developed world going to pay for it? Or are you in the pockets? Are you in the pockets of those who have damaged the environment? Are you in the pockets, are you and your system in the pockets of those who destroyed the environment through the Industrial Revolution and now lecturing us? Are you in their pockets? Are you paid by them? Are you paid to keep their message?
Fuck around and find out.
Tune in to the BBC tonight when our correspondent fucks around and promptly finds out.
And promptly finds out. I mean, the restraint that this guy showed. If I were this guy, if I were the president of a South American country and a British guy comes and starts pointing his finger at me saying, what gives you the right to commodify your resources the way Britain and the United States have commodified theirs at great detriment to the world, in particular the global South, where you are a guest in this guy's house. If I were the president, look, I don't know what the constitutional system is like down there. I'm not an expert, obviously. If I were him, I'd have snapped my fingers. Guards, get this guy out of here. Jail. That guy wouldn't have left. He'd have spent the night in jail. He's been weeks in jail. That guy had been eating his fucking toes at the end of the week. If I were him, because the fucking balls that it takes to tell that to this guy
in that tone,
in that lecturing
tone.
Yeah. All of a sudden, what gives you the right to build a pipeline? Yeah.
You're fucking British. Like the image of the Brit in the pith helmet coming to these parts of the world to condescend to the natives is something you've been trying to live down for decades. How on earth did you think you could formulate this? Did you think the virtue signal of talking down to the president of Guyana for climate change would overrule your colonial history and the way your tone evokes it?
Climate change now all of a sudden, after, and as this guy mentions, after 200 or whatever it is, 35 years of the Industrial Revolution and all of the enrichment that the West has won for itself and that America has won for itself, often, like I said, at the expense of countries like this. You're going to come now in 2024 when they strike oil and they're about to build a pipeline. What gives you the right to build a pipeline? Wow. Has this fucking scumbag ever asked who blew up the Nord Stream pipeline? Because that's the biggest act of eco-terrorism in the history of humankind. That is the biggest man-made carbon bomb in human history. Has he looked into that at all? Has he looked into, maybe look into that before you ask this guy whether he has a right to build a pipeline off his own shore. No, he'll never look into that.
The fucking balls. And would he ask Joe Biden that? I mean, Joe Biden has opened up wildlife refuge to drilling.
Yeah, Willow Project, greatest drilling project in the history of federal lands.
Would you ask an American president that question?
What gives you the rights? Yeah, exactly.
Not in a million years.
That is just, well, wow. That is incredible. But it's good that he was ready for it.
Why can't we make this guy our president?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
I'm jealous of the leaders of almost every other country on earth. Yeah, right. It is very rare that I see a world leader who does not have more poise, more class, and more erudition than anything America has produced in quite some time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would like for that guy. Why does it have to be Cenk Uygur who challenges the, natural born citizen clause? Let's get that guy up here.
Let's get this guy.
We'll get a petition going for him.
Absolutely. For him, I would petition Schwarzenegger to join the case.
Yeah, yeah. And, we got to read that New York Times piece and do that this week because I'm sure that is dripping with the same tone that this guy had here. But presented for the New York Times cosmopolitan liberal audience. Well, yes, is it really responsible for Guyana to be, exploiting their resources in this way? We have to think about that now. It's the 21st century. Convenient, right? For 235 years, we did it.
That's what all these countries say.
And now that everybody's hair is on fire about this, well, now nobody else gets to have a country anymore.
Exactly. China says that. India says that. That's exactly what they say. Like, hey, what? You got your chance to develop with these, and now we don't get to do it. Now we can't develop. We can't achieve your level of material prosperity.
And this guy says it's still net zero. I mean, I'd have to check that. Obviously, I don't have any reason to doubt him at this point, but we'll look into it because we're going to do a follow-up on this because this is a fascinating story. But he says we're still net zero. So, on top of all this, you're still barking up the wrong tree, my friend.
Right. Well, this is why I say at this point, Planet of the Humans argued for de-industrializing, almost powering down as the only path out of this. I guess I'm a bit more of an optimist. I've mentioned this before. They had an Oxford Union debate where this clip went viral. I can't remember his name. It's one of the guys from Trigonometry.
Constantine, whatever his last name is.
I should try to remember that, given that I'm about to go to their event at the beginning of May. And
hey, you, what's your name over there?
Hey, you, I always forget your name. Your name's can't you anglicize it or something?
Yeah.
They both have Slavic names. But he said, hey, if you had a choice between your child prospering, if every time you push a button it's going to release greenhouse gases, or having your child starve, you're going to hit that button all day, and that's the position the third world is in. So you're never convincing them to give up the energy they need to prosper and to create material prosperity to feed their people. That's never going to happen. So your only path out of climate change, you're going to have to invent your way out of it. and saying, I mean, now these are my words, saying, well, it shouldn't be that way. I hate those arguments. They're so useless. They're so useless. You know, gravity shouldn't exist because I feel I should be able to fly. Wouldn't it be cool if we could all fly? But you can't, okay? So it doesn't matter what you think should be, okay? This is what is. And they have every right to feel that way outside of the prosperous West, where they have not benefited from these energy sources. So they're not going to stop. There's nothing you're going to be able to do to make them stop, and they have a good deal of justification for feeling that way. All of the focus and energy that goes into these directions of trying to stop people from using energy should really be going into trying to invent our way out of it. You know, I know there's been some work on microbes that eat plastic. There's been a lot of advancement in carbon scrubbers. That should be the New Deal project, so to speak. Like, figure out the inventions that are going to take this carbon out of the atmosphere and this pollution out of our environment, because there just isn't another solution. You might think there should be, but there just isn't.
Yeah, my guess is that none of that'll work either, and that we'll just keep on keeping on until the world's had enough of us, and then it'll get rid of us. And, you know,
Maybe.
What's wrong with that?
What's
wrong with that?
But you're a misanthrope.
Yeah.
It's not so much that you think that as that you hope that.
Well, that happens to every species. I mean, the world gets rid of every species once the species becomes too burdensome or it can't accommodate it anymore. So that'll happen to us at some point. I mean, what? That's sad? What do you mean that's sad? That's like saying it's sad that people die. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not the most pleasant thing to think about, but it happens. Extinction. It happens. Get over it, Snowflake. Put that on a bumper sticker. Hey, Jose, if you're still watching, what do you think about running on that?
The West. It's okay when we do it.
Yeah, right. It's okay when we do it.
That should be our slogan.
Please clap.